in the pump price of petrol, and usually there are reactions. And Labour was one of the institutions, or should I say, one of the the persons to react to that increment. And they were very vociferous and very vocal in their call for a reversal. And as a matter of fact, they said it made a mockery of the minimum wage that they had negotiated. And for some reason, the federal government decided to call for a meeting, and that meeting happened yesterday. As at the end of that meeting, we were told, or it was reported, that the meeting ended in a deadlock. As at press time yesterday, we were told that after the first report, we were then told that certain concessions were made. But today, the reports have been flying. Various news platforms are agog with this report, saying that the federal government and Labour have come up as to how to slash the price of food items, of things that Nigerians use on a daily basis, that we have agreed to show. Now, petrol is very instrumental to many economic activities, because one, it is used for transportation. It is also used for production, or the cost of raw. Very instrumental to how businesses operate, and wanting food items or services, or something. I think it will be a great conversation. Just to say, because we don't have enough time, and I want to take as interact with just some of the items that the resolution list. The refineries will soon be functional, and not just functional, fully functional, according to the report on the Vanguard. The government also vowed to pay wages arrears, arrears of civil servants will be paid. They also agreed that there will be room for dialogue every now and then as things change in the economy. There will be room for dialogue. They also talked about CNG buses, right? So the federal government told Labour that they will be interfacing with the governors, all 36 of them, to ensure that they key into the CNG buses, embrace it, and buy, for easy transportation, especially of goods and services. Now, in their opinion, and I quote, say, as part of efforts at crashing transport fares across the country, the federal government will hold a meeting with state governors to fully embrace the CNG buses. This will also affect the cost of foodstuff, as it will reduce the cost of transporting food items from different locations to consumers drastically. Now, these are parts of efforts to cushion the effects of the subsidy removal on the citizens. They also promised to summon a meeting of the Economic Council to impress it upon state governors to ensure the new minimum wage takes off across the country this month. It also promised to incorporate Labour into the Economic Council, so Labour will participate and monitor economic policies of government instead of government throwing policies at Labour and Nigerians that may result in agitation or protest. The government also promised to hasten and complete the refineries. They also said that almost 5 refineries are about to be completed. Another source told Vanguard last night. When they say 5 refineries, I'm wondering, we have 2 in Port Harcourt, we have Kaduna, we've got Warri. So I'm wondering where the 5th is coming from. Okay, anyways, but that's not the focus right now. I'll do some research later, and I'll bring about where the 5th one is coming from. However, the first question I want to ask is, should Labour be or would Labour be a good representative of the people, at that economic council? Because the federal government has now promised to incorporate Labour, so Labour can speak on behalf of workers in Nigeria, and maybe to a large extent speak on behalf of Nigerians, incorporate. So they're saying we don't want to be doing policies to just come dump on Nigerians, because Nigerians have been shouting, these policies are anti-people policies. Remember the 1st August protests, the 1st October protests, they were all saying, reverse your policies. By the way, the World Bank is saying Nigerians should not be asking for the reversal of these policies, but should, take it in their strides and see how they can support the government to bring about the actualization of these policies, right? So my first question is, should Labour be, that represent? Should Labour even be a part of that council? Do you think that's a good move in the first place? What do you also make of the promises by the federal government saying, come on, let's all be calm. When we have the refineries working, it will automatically crash the price of petrol. When we also have the 36 state governors keying into the CNG program, it will also crash, the cost of transportation, because they are saying CNG is cheaper, and if state governors key into it, then it will also reduce it. They're saying also that if state governors or governments start paying minimum wage, then it will bring about some cushioning effect. So I want to get your thoughts basically. Do you think, because remember, for the past 3 days now, we've been talking about economic policies. We started with talking, I beg your pardon, we started with talking about World Bank saying it will take about 10 to 15 years, to have some kind of stability when we talk our economy. However, we should not derail the economy by reversing some of these policies, especially as it has to do with removal of subsidy in fuel and as it has to do with removal of subsidy on the forex. So I'd like to get your thoughts basically. What do you make of this? Because like I said, last week, Labour had shouted. I even remember, I think the Labour in Rivers State also had something to say about the increase in petrol price, and they said they were waiting for some order from the national. But now that the national has told this path, it is believed that even the state chapters will told same path. So the question is it a move on behalf of the people, a good one for the people? What do you make of it? I'd like to hear from you. Remember, the Minister of Power did say that Nigerians are no longer shouting, or are not shouting, or are not crying, or are not panicking because everything is going great. They don't have to use generating sets anymore. There is enough power supply. 08179230002, 08179230003, 08179230007. Some of you, if you catch me, I guess you would flog me, because I've always said, what if the refinery works? And this is 17th day of October 2024, and we're still awaiting the promise of a working refinery. And now we're being told that the federal government promised Labour that the refineries will work. By the way, some of you say the federal government never gets to mention anything about the refinery. Now they have come out to say that the refinery will soon work. Not just Port Harcourt, not just Warri, all the refineries, and possibly new ones would soon start working. What are your thoughts on that one? 08179230002, 08179230003, and 08179230007. Let's start with messages. You can send me your WhatsApp message, 0809030646. It says, it is obvious that the government of Tinubu has come to inflict pain on Nigerians, knowing that most of us never voted for him. According to his words, Nigeria has become the new hell on earth. It is a pity. Nothing will change for good, because by my evaluation, it will only get worse. Mark my words, because every Nigerian only wants to exploit and make gain at the expense of another. Adaya from Port Harcourt. Adaya, I understand your reservations, but you've not really taken that time to attempt the questions that I've asked. One, should Labour be a part of the Economic Council? Two, what do you make of the promise of a workable refinery, or not just one, about 5? Three, what do you make of state governors keen or embracing the CNG program, to have a lot of CNGs in the various states, helping with transportation, public transportation possibly, to see how they can ease the cost of transportation? What do you make of that? And I'm looking at all of these things and I'm wondering what your thoughts are. But let's look at this one. This one says, as long as CNG is mentioned, none of all you mentioned will work. All these are ways to calm labor down so as not to embark on strike. I repeat, CNG is an acronym to deceive us. How many lies do we need to hear from this government before we will accept that they mean no good to us? And that's coming from SF Smart from Agri Estate Port Harcourt. Okay, all right. And something that Labour did say, and I think it should also be a point for discussion, and that is the fact that we don't have to always quarrel with the government. We don't have to always fight with the government. Sometimes we should give room for dialogue. I think they put it, you don't have to judge your see how they put it. I think you have to judge your not war, something like that. That's how they put it. But I want to get your thoughts basically. This one says I can't help but laugh. Are you not honestly tired of reading all these bogus promises from the government since 1999? But it's not like it's my fault, right? I mean, Labour was in a meeting, and it's my job to read what was the result of that meeting. But this one says Labour being part of the Economic Council is a good one, and it is long overdue, and Labour should protect the common man and not the interest of workers alone. Best in Port Harcourt is that one to say. This one says, when is soon? Please. Soon is not a date. Another Bobo promise. All right, Ike with that one. This one says, do you believe what the federal government is saying? Thank God Ability Atwig was asking me that. And this one says, the promise made by the federal government to Labour is not realistic, because this is not the first promise made by the federal government to Labour and Nigerians. The promise is unfounded and deceitful. On attack Clinton West with that one. And Asetiko A from our 3 says, don't go too far. One of them that will roll out the cane for that flogging on the refinery issue, but because it is you, let's just maintain status quo. I keep dodging the title you're giving to me, Asetiko A, but thank you nonetheless. When I do come back from a commercial break, because I do have a commercial break up next, when I do come back, I would read, some of the responses from the ministers who represented the federal government at that meeting, their response to Labour's commitment, to that resolution. When we do come back, just stay tuned.
Stay with us. Nigeria Info. We'll be back.
And I was telling you, before the commercial, that Labour sometime last week, was saying, hey, reverse. However, it looks like the tone has changed after the parley because the federal government made some promises. The federal government said, it will provide more CNG buses, and it will also tell about 2,000 CNG buses, and it will also tell the state governors to embrace the program. It talked about, workable refineries, functioning refineries, about 5 of them. It also promised to impress on the state governors to pay the minimum wage, and also promised to include Labour in the Economic Council. So I want to get your thoughts on that one as well. Now, I think it was the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, who was interacting with newsmen after that parley. He said, is always desirous of engaging with Labour. This is one of such engagement. We will continue to interact with them. We won't wait until there is tension about anything before we engage Labour. This is a renewed commitment on behalf of government to continue to engage Labour on a number of issues. These engagements have been very fruitful and will continue to engage with them, he said. He said a lot of things were discussed, but like I said, this is work in progress. This is something that isn't a one-off thing, but we have not reached anything that we think can tell Nigerians now. But what is more important is that there is going to be a continuous engagement between us and Labour for good. He said government is there for everyone, including Labour, so we will continue to engage Labour for the good of the country. All right, so that was the Minister for Information speaking on behalf of the federal government there. He would not give any insight, but he just said Labour pacified and all of that. But let's see. One of the sources said all these are promises, but from Labour's angle, by the way. But the good thing is that it was agreed that the meeting will be a continuous process. Asked if Labour was satisfied with the meeting, the source said it is not about satisfaction, but a way forward from the past where government was not discussing with organised Labour. If this trend of practice continues, there is every possibility that disagreements between government and Labour will reduce. So what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? By the way, if you do not know, the reps have told the federal government to reverse, the current cost of cooking gas to what it was before. I think now it's somewhere around 1,500 naira for a kg. And they have also asked for the reversal of the petrol pump price. All right, let's go to the phone line. 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, 0817-923-0007. Let us hear what you're thinking as it relates to... remember my questions. Number one, what do you make of Labour joining the Economic Council? For those of you who don't know what the Economic Council, it's the council where, they discuss how to get the economy to favor the ordinary man. So the governors are part of it. I think it has been chaired by the vice president? I do think so. All right. It's been chaired by the vice president. I think there are also some businessmen like Dangote, if I remember vividly, they were also asked to join that economic council. But I've got Clinton from Bori. Let's get to listen. Clinton, welcome.
The question you asked, can you hear me, Kalada?
Loud and clear. Go ahead, Clinton.
Yeah, the question you asked, if Labour should be part of that Federal Executive Council meeting.
Not executive, it's Economic Council. They're two different. Executive meeting are for the ministers and the president. Yeah. Economic governors, private sector, and all of that stuff. Let's go ahead.
Thank you very much. Yes, right. I agree completely. They should be part of that Economic Council meeting. Labour, ordinary, should be there. All but right. The Labour will have these days do the biddings of the politicians.
How do you mean?
That's the fear we have as Nigerians.
How do you mean?
Because if Labour actually care about Nigerians, we've been suffering and they've not been asking the right questions of the government at all levels. But if they want to do the right thing now, I think to gain the trust of Nigerians, we will support them. Now, going into that, Nigeria runs a federal system of government, not a unitary system of government. If all the state governors can come together and look for ways that they can harmonize and alleviate the suffering of their people, I think we will solve our problems as Nigerians. We talk about CNG buses. Yes, that's an alternative. Do we have conversion centers in all the states in Nigeria? No. They should make it available in all the states so that people can convert their vehicles. This will also reduce the cost of transportation.
All right.
Cost of goods will also go down.
All right.
Again, the local government is also to prioritize invest in agriculture. If they invest much in the agriculture, we'll have food security. So I think all this should be concerted. All efforts, all hands on deck to solve our problems as Nigerians. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. I've got Braid from Eleanor. Braid, welcome. What is on your mind?
Yeah, greetings to Mr. Bato.
Welcome.
Yeah, the CNG bus. For me, I don't see it working. Because one, do we have conversion centers at the various states? The answer is no. Talk less of local government. The answer is no. So I don't think I see it working. And also, for Labour to be part of the Economic Council, well, it's a good one, but I think Labour shouldn't go there and begin to drink tea with the Economic Council members. Labour should know why they are there. And also, I feel that the civil society members should have also been there. Because those are people that are going to fight for the generality of the people. Because Labour is going to narrow it down to workers. So I think if the civil society is also going to be there, it will also help for the generality of the people. But reps telling the president to ensure that the petrol and PMG should go back to the former price. I don't see it working.
All right.
Because the president we have is not a listening president.
Right.
Wherever he has gone, that is the area he will go. Whether Nigerians are perishing or Nigeria dies, it doesn't concern him. He will be dancing. And that is what we know him for.
Right.
He's in the local, so I see nothing working concerning what the National Assembly members are talking. If they really mean what they are talking, they should put it in action. Let Nigeria see that really what they say, they mean what they are saying. They should put it in action, not just by verbal saying. Verbal saying doesn't do anything. Someone, Mr. President, give him a marching order. If he doesn't do it, you have the yam, you have the knife.
All right,
fling your rod. Let it understand that you are National Assembly members.
All right, Braid, I've got to go. I've got Okwandu from Irebe. Okwandu, quickly, let's get straight to the point. What are your thoughts?
Yes, good evening to you, Kalada.
Yes, welcome.
The man of the people.
Good afternoon, welcome.
You
Let's get your thoughts quickly.
You can agree with me or you can observe with me that of recent, there has been a lot of agreement between Labour and the federal government. And I can tell you that none of these agreements has been kept to. And Labour have not been able to do anything. In several cases, Labour have threatened strike on a particular issue, and at the end of the day, government will not do that and they will still call off their strike. And as a matter of fact, my brother, since removal of fuel subsidy by the Tinubu government, there has been a lot of promises. We will do CNG, we will do this, we will do this. And nothing is coming out from all those promises. Let me tell you, Labour have not been good enough in fighting for the welfare of their members, talk less of that of Nigerians. All these things that they are doing, we know what they are doing. They are just playing with us while they are enjoying, going to Aso Rock every day, drinking tea, eating rice. At the end of the day, Nigerians are suffering.
All right.
nobody should hope on Labour to fight for him, because they are not interested in fighting for Nigerians. They are only interested in themselves and their pockets.
All right, Okwandu, thank you. I've got to move on now.
You.
I've got Atisi from Ebukuma. Is it Ebukuma now? But it's no longer on the line. I've got Ken from Ubumini. Ken, welcome.
Good afternoon, Canada.
Yeah, good afternoon, Ken.
Canada, if I may ask, the SNG boss, how many are there in the whole state in the country? And how far has it gone? Canada, if Mr. President wants to do something in the transport sector, he should bring out buses and release our refinery for us. We don't need any magic. We don't need any production in what do they call it? Maneuvering production in terms of assuming as if he is hearing the yearnings of the masses in this country. As for Labour, I think they should have themselves seated and have themselves quarantined. Let them no longer let us know that they are existing in this country.
All right.
Because as far as I'm concerned, they are more or less civil servants who want their own brand envelope. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you very much, Ken from Ubumini. Well, let's read some messages now. Let's see. This one says, for me, the River State government should do their own part by embracing CNG program and also make pronouncement on the minimum wage like Lagos State that has upped the game by promising to pay 5,000 naira from this October. River State can do something to ease the suffering of Rivers civil servants. All right, John from Port Harcourt with that one. So says, I know one of the major contractors currently working in Port Harcourt refinery, and I was with one of their staff last week, and he said categorically the refinery cannot work within the next 4 years based on the level of work being put in, that the government is just making stories. Comrade Raymond Peter. But that's his say. He could just be saying to paint the government in bad mouth. That is, if he really did say that. All right, let's take this one. It says, please, we are hungry. Rogers Okabe from Orabali. He just went ahead and said, please, we are hungry. All right, this one says the promise of the federal government is likened to the promise of the cock to the female fowl because it is looking for something. Amarachi from Eneka. Amarachi. But this one says the World Bank has failed in holding the government accountable to the people in providing good enough alternatives to the removal of subsidy and other economic policies. The economic policies might be a good step in the right direction, but there were things to do before doing it, which was done. There is very little or no effective remedies enough to sustain the people from the suffering the effects of those certain policies. Imagine a father removing his children's bed for maintenance only to ask the kids to sleep on the floor pending when the bed is maintained, thereby exposing them to pneumonia and all sorts of sickness. Sadly enough, that's exactly what this government is doing to us, the people. From ND on there. All right, I would have to step out for a beat. It's time for some commercial to come your way. But when I do return, remember, it will be time for the major news. And after the major news, it will be time for open season, right? So do stay tuned. We will have all of these conversations come your way. Good afternoon. I'll be right back.